As we slowly move from 2023 into 2024, it's been an incredible year for many games that allow players, modders, and developers to show their prowess and even show what's possible when they take their games off of these platforms, make their own from scratch, and release them to the public. 2023 has slowly been ramping up more and more through the year, which has shown this pattern of popularity for custom-made games and user-generated content, or UGC for short, slowly appearing in very popular games like Fortnite, which we'll get into shortly. Games like Roblox and Garry's Mod have popularized this specific style of game on PC long before other games like Little Big Planet, Dreams, and even Minecraft had their own takes, allowing the player to create and make what they want and more. Moving forward, while Roblox has a much more larger approach, which making the game available on almost every platform, including mobile and even VR, Roblox was once an indie game that has now turned into a billion-dollar company. That is also a publicly traded company that you can actually buy stocks in if you wanted to. And Fortnite's throwing its hat into the UGC space as it continues to expand outside of its widely successful Battle Royale phase and into its, metaverse. God, I cringe when I say that sometimes. This pattern shows that people absolutely love the idea and concept of playing games and content made by other people. This concept alone can work if you already have a well-established base and also reach that would get people very interested. For Fortnite, this works very well from its art style, gameplay, and even its audience. With all that being said, is it even possible that there can be any more room in this specific corner of gaming for more platform games like this? Well, that leads us to S&box. S&box is a game created by Gary Newman, creator of Garry's Mod and owner of Facepunch Studios. Gary has also been well known for creating Rust alongside the Facepunch team. According to what the site has for the description for S&box, S&box is meant to be a spiritual successor to Garry's Mod. It will eclipse what's possible in Garry's Mod rather than be a modern version of it. While this statement is definitely something that will for sure turn off a good chunk of people interested in this game just from hearing that, it's obviously the official way of saying that there will be no Garry's Mod 2. S&box does use the Source 2 engine, or rather now a heavily modified version of the Source 2 engine. Personally, in my opinion, this is probably going to be the same engine that Facepunch uses, most likely for the next Rust game. Yes, this may seem like a stretch, but I made a whole video about this theory here if you're really interested about that. The main focus of S&box, obviously as it states, is to think about the game's lifespan as a long haul thing. They've already done this before with updating Rust and even Garry's Mod till this day with bug fixes and new updates for players already enjoying their games. More importantly, S&box is meant to be a fully modifiable game, just like Garry's Mod. Do you want your own player models and
sausage men? I ain't playing a game with sausage men.
Then just remove them and mod in your own custom-made player models. Problem solved. Don't like the maps? Make your own and mod them in. Don't see a mod you'd love to have in the game and want to do it yourself? Go ahead. All these possibilities are yours and S&box provides that. I do want to preface that Facepunch Studios is an indie company. With what Garry's Mod has created and also Rust is a different approach to how they make games and how they allow their players to play in them. From creating content, games, assets for them, and more, Facepunch is wanting to give the player more opportunities to go wild with what you come up with. While Roblox and Fortnite do these things as well subjectively, it also comes with the cost of which game you're personally interested in, the audience you want to share your game with, and also the style of game you're even able to make within these engines. So now we're going to look into some of the main components specifically within the game itself, which is the way content is distributed and how the content itself is made in the S&box editor. To get into more detail, I've decided to include a developer from the S&box community by the name of Carson. I've covered a good amount of games he's made, such as the social game called Home, which is reminiscent of Gmod Tower, Tetros, a Tetris game, and even a digital audio workstation within S&box itself with the new scene system called D&W. He'll be speaking about the reasons why you either as a beginner or even someone who's never even heard about this game until now will show you how it works and also why it's worth looking into for the near future. Take it away, Carson.
Since September, Facepunch has been actively retooling S&box so that the entire tool set is much more in line with other game engines such as Unity, Godot, and Unreal Engine. These changes were made so S&box developers would no longer have to rely on Source 2's underlying systems, which are either outdated by now or are very limited for S&box, all while providing a workflow that is already familiar to many existing artists and developers. You see, Source 2 wasn't made to do everything. Source 2 was made for FPS games and a MOBA. So as a result, it's rather difficult to make anything that isn't an FPS. You typically have to work around the many oddities that the old quote-unquote entity system had add whether you wanted to or not. So Facepunch's push into the new quote-unquote scene system has been done primarily to ensure that the workflow can be used to create games without limits. Source 2 isn't gone by any means. Source 2 simply acts as the underlying framework powering S&box, similarly to how both Source 1 and Source 2 use the Quake engine as their underlying framework. This means that we'll benefit from all the new shiny stuff from Source 2 without being bound to their tools. Why is this important? Well, S&box also doubles as a massive user-generated content platform known as Asset Party. Asset Party allows players and developers to upload all sorts of content, from models to materials, maps, sounds, and even games and add-ons. Developers can use the assets uploaded to Asset Party in their own uploads to Asset Party, making it an ever-evolving space of user-generated content where, as a developer, you get tons of assets available at your disposal without even having to leave the engine. This is very comparable to UGC platforms such as Roblox, which has always offered something they call the Toolbox. The Toolbox is a place where users can upload builds or Lua scripts they made in Roblox Studio so that others who are making Roblox games in Roblox Studio can simply drag and drop content from the Toolbox directly into their game scene. Anyone who's played Gary's mod could even compare this to the Toy Box from Gmod 12 before we had the Steam Workshop in Gmod 13. And although Asset Party has been around since the Entity system, it was never as easy to use until now, since you would have to access a model, material, or sound via code instead of just being able to drag it into your scene or into an inspector. Having access to user-generated content right from inside of the engine makes building and iterating on games and new ideas faster than ever before. Having access to such an expansive library of content that you can just drag and drop into your game makes it accessible to just about everyone. So even if you've never made a game before, it's still worth giving S&box a try. However, there's still lots that Facepunch needs to do in order to mature the scene system. Since Facepunch doesn't want to lock users into old Valve tools, we'll likely see tools such as Hammer, the beloved mapping software, and ModelDoc, Source 2's model inspector, be replaced by Facepunch alternatives that integrate flawlessly into the engine. This may sound scary for longtime fans of S&box or even the Source engine as a whole, but this won't happen for a very long time, and Facepunch will not do it lightly, as they know that people love this software, and they're going to ensure it's a very similar experience.
Once more again, huge shout out to Carson for assisting me with this video and also providing wonderful developer insight for this topic. Of course, Carson does have a huge amount of dev blogging and tutorials, which he just released a new one recently. So if you're interested in more educational S&box content, feel free to check out his links down in the description below. For S&box to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Roblox and even Fortnite can seem like big shoes to fill. S&box looks to be very promising for those that are interested, but also the amount of content and opportunities for developers, modders, artists, creators, and more can get their hands on and enjoy with this game. With that being said, if you really enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about S&box, here's everything you need to know about S&box in under 11 minutes. Happy holidays and a good new year, and I'll see you guys in 2024. Thanks for watching.